Okay, I guess it's over. From what I have been hearing and told, it's all over now. That the Acolyte final episode has been for this season has been done. I've been reading and watching the Twitterverse, and I've been looking around the rest of the Muggle community, and I've gathered that it's a 50-50 split right now. I'm seeing a lot, and maybe it's the algorithm giving me all the best of what I'm doing here, which is, promoting the beacon of positivity. But it seems like it's a split. It's either either
I really, really fucking hate this. This is the worst Star Wars I've ever had in my life.
or it's this is great. I'm loving this. This is, the greatest thing since fried chicken and sliced bread. So there's a 50-50 split in what I'm seeing online. There's a 50-50 split in how I'm seeing it in the in this, Twitter, in this social media scape. But at the same time, if I'm going out in the world and talking to the Muggles, the Muggles are telling me that they're digging this and that they're liking it, and that the scores and the news and the media and the propaganda against this show are not swaying them against liking it. Now, is that because they're Muggles and they don't know what they're talking about? Because that's what some of the mainstream YouTube personalities would have you believe, is that this is trash. This is destroying Star Wars. This is the worst Star Wars in franchise history. But then again, it is the question. So we're gonna talk about some of that tonight. We're gonna see who wants to come in. I am offering out an invite to anybody that wants to come in and chat and bring in their perspective, because now that it's over, I think it's important to feel it out. But as always, and I always tell you guys this, come here with receipts. Don't come here with I feels. Don't come here with this my opinion. Come here with some factual receipts. Bring in some data. I'm always interested in the spirit of debate and conversation, but I don't want this is my headcanon, because here headcanon is bullshit. So get in the conversation if you want. We have some people coming in that have a different perspective and given this show way lower scores than I am, and we'll discuss that with other creators and such. And speaking of other creators, we have not only the one and only, but the one and only.
I was like, where's he going with this? I like the little chime.
Yeah. The chime is for you guys that come in, and the chime is fun. I have other ones, for other people, but so you're on the chime. You're on the chime.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I brought my emotional support Tythonian tonight.
Oh, that's good.
So he's gonna be right here on my
what
side.
Was his name? Crunk, Rock.
Nobody remembers.
Geode.
Yes. Oh my God. There you go.
Yeah, I remember.
Super creative, right?
I was just going through the Rolodex of my rock friends.
They came up with that in the car.
Yeah, in the car.
Her husband. True story.
Yeah. So it's definitely there's already there's so much yesterday that went on. I got to it late. I got to it this morning. I had to work yesterday and most of the evening, so it took me a whole night until this morning to watch and get into it. And I'm not gonna lie or sugarcoat it. That shit was awesome. That shit was just awesome. I was really behind it. So yeah, I mean, I'm digging it. And again, like all Star Wars, there's always pros and cons. There's always ups and downs. There's never a perfect movie, right? In the 40, 50 plus years that we've been doing this Star Wars stuff, there's never been a perfect. There's never been a 300 bowling score. There's never been a perfect golf round. There's never been any of that. It's always been treacherous waters, so to speak. And that's why we enjoy being the lighthouse, the beacon of hope on the rocky shores, because it doesn't seem like there's a lot out there, at least on YouTube. Now I go on Twitter and there's a lot of people that have a lot of positive things to say. But as far as YouTube is concerned, are you facing that way today? Okay, because if you're facing that way, I'm going to switch us.
Yeah, I'll face this way. Sure.
No, we're switching. We're switching. We already switched. Okay, this is better anyway because then I can do that. Then I can do this shit really easily. So
staring into souls.
It's it. Just getting into the souls. But yeah,
Twitter is a more. It's a more vast array of people, whereas YouTube is suggesting videos to you based on videos you watch already. So
yeah,
you're not really getting too many new perspectives. I definitely appreciate Twitter for keeping me humble and keeping the fandom, like the pros and cons, in front of my face instead of just like one-sided arguments all over the place.
Right. So, well, I mean, look, and I'm always down for the spirit of debate, right? I've never shunned away from debate, right? I enjoy having the conversation. However, I try to come with receipts. If we're going to have a debate and we're going to talk about things, I enjoy coming with data. I think it's important to not just I feel your way through a conversation, but to rather come at the situation with a intellectual perspective.
Now be careful, man, because you're starting to sound like Pablo Hidalgo.
Well, look,
feelings are not for sharing, bro.
No, share your feelings. You're allowed to feel, right? But at the same time, come with receipts, right? Like, oh, this isn't Star Wars. How is that? Right? Or, oh, this is breaking canon. Show me, right?
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm concerned, thus far, nothing's really been broken, right?
Well,
I don't really.
I think people just need to come to the expectation that, like, they keep telling us it's all legends. Like, I think eventually people got to start catching on that, like, it is not going to go the way you think. Not to take a line from my favorite Star Wars film.
But at the same time, so, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to get into this earlier or later and make this.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. Chat wants to get into
it. And join this and get into this conversation at this point. But, it's tough. It's tough.
Oh, and he's out. And I'm taking over the show.
And he's taking over the show. Right. Okay. So I keep pushing the wrong button. Okay. So I hate to say this. I hate to say this out loud, and I hate to say this to people because, I have a lot of respect for not only the creators of this content, but also the illustrators and, everything involved. But unfortunately, my friends, these are not like, this cannot be your investigative reporting on this subject. Okay. So this cannot be where you get your evidence, because these are as much as they are appreciated by the fandom and sanctioned by Star Wars at one time, these are not in the timeline. These are not the story. So if you're looking for these exact things, you're going to be disappointed. And I'm sorry to say that, but I really enjoyed both of these stories, but this is not canon. And I understand your EU love and respect. I get it. But at the same time, there's a reason they decanonize these. There's a reason that may or may not have been canon to dictate your terms, but they made sure these were not canonized for a specific reason so that they can choose what they bring back and how, right? And that's their right as the owners of this content. So again, I try not to bag on anybody's interpretations. I try not to say anything disheartening, but ultimately these are not as much as we have enjoyed them over the years, these are not your receipts. And if they are, I have more receipts from these books that continue along with what we saw as far as Plagueis is concerned. So if we want to have those conversations, we can. I come to you with receipts. I come to you with information and data. You're basing your arguments on, number one, things that are not relevant in the timeline, and number two, things that you may or may not have interpreted properly, like the Anakin prophecy. So
Now, if I could steel man the other side of this
Steel man away.
argument, because I am a
Let's go.
listen, huge fan of EU content, huge fan of both the books that you just held up. I think that it is perfectly acceptable. I know Maria is screaming it's not canon, but I think personally it is acceptable to hold those books at canon, even if you want to call it head canon, which is, terrible word.
Bro,
I know,
don't
scary word. I know.
get me started. That's a
But listen,
way to Roger me, bro.
These two books in particular, until names are dropped in the new, or however you want to, I think they can be upheld as the canon, but I'm not going to be upset when there's changes.
Well, but
I'm going to hold myself to the flame, because I know eventually this book right here, it will be on the chopping block. Right now, this is canon. I mean, this might end up being people's head canon. We don't know.
God, I hate that word. It's such a stupid ass delusional word, and I hate to be mean about it. Head canon is your imagination.
But to a point, you have to accept that a lot of this is left to the imagination.
Sure. But
right now, at the end of this season, there's a lot of your head canon that's still not proven yet.
Right, but once it's proven and out there, once it's shown and documented, you can't use your head canon as evidence in a debate, right?
Agreed.
You don't get alternative facts here. I'm sorry. This is not
histories.
This isn't that, right?
Multiverses is
you get what is here. Now, if you choose to believe what you believe, that's you believe what you believe, but you can't use that in a debate. You can't use that in the spirit of the debate, right? Because those are untrue facts, right? And as far as I'm concerned, in the court of this little area, in the jurisdiction that this little court has, those arguments are inadmissible, right? So I applaud you for reading and doing all your research, but at this point, those stories don't hold anymore. So get on board or don't watch, right? Like, that's it's so funny. I've been replying to tweets all day because I am having a fun time with this.
I mean, we should feel blessed that Darth Plagueis is even a thing. Dude, they didn't have to do that at all. Period.
Did we not kind of think that was coming anyway in this story? Eventually down the line, could this become a Plagueis, potentially a Plagueis and Palpatine story, eventually leading us into the gruesome death of Palpatine, which would be awesome if they use some of that, some of those stories, which I'm guessing they would. And how cool would it be if they actually reached out to James Lucerno right now and we're like, hey, we're bringing Plagueis in, you want to come help us write? That would be a great tribute, but they may or may not, because some of these artists, A, may not want to be involved in Disney Star Wars, or B, not feel like their wage isn't enough to contribute what they've contributed to basically writing off of their character. So there's a lot of different argument involved. It's just a matter of who's going to, I mean, there's no win. That's the thing. It's all up for discussion because we're not involved in the creative process.
Right. That's why I like to focus on the speculation and the theory. Like, am I supposed to believe that this isn't all going to happen again when we go to Old Republic? Like, they've shown us the timeline. They're going to go all the way back to Dawn of the Jedi. You don't think that all the EU shit they talk about, what's the moons, the Bogan and the other moon, and how when you go too far to the light, they send you to the dark side moon?
No, you mean
am I supposed to believe that they're not going to pull from any of that stuff, guys?
Bogan, is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. Yeah. Like,
well,
we're going to go Old Republic, and you don't think they're going to touch EU books and
I don't know if this is Colonel S or if this is Cole-esque or Col-esque. I don't know. I may pronounce it wrong. Help me with the phonetics.
Col-esque.
But welcome. I love your icon, Animal. Big fan of Animal.
Hell yes.
Like Kurtosis, Plagueis makes no sense unless you know the EU. Otherwise, they have to explain what it is. But that's just it. They are explaining. Right, he kind of breaks down Kurtosis a little bit. You get to see him working with Kurtosis.
I think they added to it a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like it added a little bit, and it showed a really cool element of Star Wars that no one has really ever discussed. Right, so they're bringing in.
Never seen anybody wear it.
Never seen anybody.
And the callback to what they trained with when they were younglings, like.
Well, yeah,
that's good writing. I'm sorry, whatever, dude. Like, hate it or not,
increases the amount of respect I have for our friend Chimere,
Yeah.
Right. I have so much more respect now that he's not using the rest of his senses. He's literally connecting to the force in that helmet to guide him. Right. So it's just such a cool, I mean, it goes back to KOTOR, it goes back to some other stories, but ultimately that's introducing that element, specifically cortosis, is a really cool addition as a way to almost like the Mandalorian armor we saw in Mando when Gideon was fighting Din Djarin, right? When we see those two fight and he's blocking the dark saber with his armor and his staff, his Beskar staff, these are why didn't the lightsaber cut through that? Well, because it's Beskar. You got to know more about Beskar and why they chose that metal. It works well against lightsabers and other weapons, blaster weapons, energy weapons. So there's a reason that this stuff was used, but cortosis is such a rare thing that you don't see a lot of it, right? And why would he know about it if it wasn't something the Jedi wanted public, right? So, because you got to remember, most of the stuff the Jedi are into is public knowledge to the Senate for the most part. We even see that here in the Old Republic, in this era of High Republic. Sorry. So, but then
they still didn't name drop that planet. Like it could be Baldemnik, where he ends up killing his master.
It could
show
be
that vein, like that was a vein of cortosis that we saw.
But it could be Octu for all we know, another island on Octu somewhere.
It was unnamed still, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, let's see. Cole says, but not EU fans were confused by the headbutting sabers. Yeah, I get it, but at the same time, that's when the Muggles come and ask me when I'm at work, hey, dude, and these are literally the questions, right? And this is literally the conversation.
Hey, dude, hey. So I was watching that new Star Wars show, right, with the twinsies, and this dude like headbutted and like hi-yad a lightsaber, and they turned off, bro. Like, what the shit is that?
And then I'm like, oh, okay, check it out. And then I break it down for them, and they're like, oh, so that's like that Mandalorian armor. So like when he's like, and it's like getting bright. Yeah, kind of. It's armor. It's metal. It's the Muggles.
Did he just call Plagueis Gollum?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
get out.
Yeah, get out of here. So yeah, look, I mean, there's always an opportunity to educate the Muggles. Did I send you the right link? Did I send her the right link? If she's in the studio, she should be in. Let me make sure. I'm going to send her the link again. But yeah, I mean, look, the Muggles. Oh, she's waiting for the app. Copy that, because she's on her phone, so it's going to be audio.
Just going to come in, tear my ass apart about EU,
that's it.
And then
just going to tear you up and then leave. But yeah, look, I appreciate everybody that has. I appreciate everybody's opinion. I appreciate people that don't know wanting to learn more and getting into it and not hating on it, but like curious, and that's why they're doing this. They could stay with the same stuff all the time and never add anything new. But haven't you all been clamoring for new? Like the new is what everybody has been clamoring for.
This did so bad. We're gonna get another story about fucking clones. God damn it, clones again.
I mean, it could be clones, right? I mean, the thing is, like I said, we saw those two hooded figures, right, during their ceremony. I'm still convinced those are two Sith, right? That they were working just like Palpatine worked with the witches of Dathomir, right? The Night Sisters. Why can't Plagueis be working with these people to give us more of the information? Okay. So here comes another one of our friends. Let's give her.
Oh my God.
Okay,
just spill the tea. Okay, just
all right.
spill the tea.
So Maria's coming in to tell us what we're wrong about. So tee it up.
Well, so the girls were in fact a virgins in the Force.
Sure.
The girls themselves, and for some reason or another, during the airing, Leslie Headland was told to back away from that. And
during the airing, you say?
During the airing of the show, Leslie Headland was told to back away from that and make the planet the Virgins.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because it wasn't truly explained throughout the show. Like it wasn't explicitly.
It wasn't explained throughout the show.
Mm.
But if you look at what you're looking on the screen, how many times were we told that they were the virgins and they needed to take the twins back to Curson to be proof of whatever the case may be?
Well,
right?
Now, do we know if now I'm going to have to go back and watch the entire thing from the stem, but do we know if the children were born on that planet?
Yes.
Or if they were brought there?
No, they were born there.
Okay, so they were born there. So the virgins doesn't necessarily have to be the children. They're just proof of the virgins on the planet.
Correct. But if you wanted to prove a virgins of a planet,
correct,
you could just go to the planet.
I mean, if that virgin could have showed up
in Dagobah, or you go into the pit in Actu. There's your proof right there of places that are virginses, right?
But to take life that was created from the power of the virgins is
that makes them. Yes, I'm not saying that the planet isn't a virgins,
right?
But I am saying that
pivoted.
A virgins is just an anomaly, right?
Correct.
It's an anomaly in the Force, something that exists outside of the Force itself. And I mean, you've heard Obi-Wan Kenobi go, we're all connected and da 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 da. Well, these anomalies are not necessarily connected to the Force. They exist outside of time and space. And it's like you very clearly see it in the original trilogy in Episode 5. You very clearly see it, in The Last Jedi with Rey. Right. So it's very easy to prove that a planet is a virgin, is what I'm saying. And that they are a virgins themselves. And I am sticking to that. I don't care. I know, because there's been interviews of Leslie going, oh, no. I didn't mean to make them the virgins. Right.
So you're saying the narrative of the PR department is where the narrative changed, not necessarily the narrative in the show. They didn't go back and do any edits per se.
They did not change. They couldn't. The episodes were airing.
Copy that.
Right.
But they were like, stop talking about that.
Well, I mean, I would
change it a little bit, because I think maybe what happened was this is just my feeling. I know you hate feelings.
Sure. I love feelings. You just can't use them as facts.
No, I can't. I can't use this as facts.
That's all.
But what I'm saying is what I think happened is that's how she originally wrote it, because that's what I remember seeing in scripts.
Right.
And I think that because everybody was taking that so negatively, the PR people were told to back away from that. Well, but it's very clear to me where she was going with this story.
But there's a difference between the word virgins and virgins, right? Like, if you want to get religious, right? Christ is born of a Virgin Mary, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is the understanding, because of the way George Lucas wrote Episode 1. This is the understanding that Anakin was born from a virgin mother, conceived through the Force.
Correct.
And that narrative has been used by a misunderstanding of the word. Right?
Well, yes, correct. I mean, Anakin was created by the Force. Anakin was not created by some manipulation of the Force.
Well, I mean, it depends on where they give us this eventually, but either the argument is that a comic, a Force vision in a comic, is where the idea that Palpatine manipulated the midichlorians and Shmi to create Anakin, right? The other is that he was born of a virgin, or he was created by the midichlorians, by the Force, to counterbalance an act that Plagueis had made, right? So it just depends on where they give us,
right?
Where that comes from, right? But yeah, I mean, really, it just that word. The thing is, they use this term in the original Episode 1. They use this term.
Absolutely.
Qui-Gon uses this term.
Correct.
But
people have applied that him using that as something like unique and special, And that's just not how it was. Anybody that's ever played Star Wars, the Old Republic video games, the MMO, knows that we are sent out on missions to investigate virgins.
Right. And
right?
the same thing with cortosis, right? If you go back into some of these stories, cortosis is nothing new to the fandom. No, right? It just depends on
Could you imagine doing something so absurd as interjecting yourself as a creator in a video game and creating this whole expansive thing that George never did in any of the movies? Could you imagine just to put your stamp on thing and own it as your own? Crazy.
Yeah.
But I can, actually. So this the idea that Anakin was born from a virgin's birth, right? This is the confusion with the word virgins, right? And so
I don't know what confusion question. What confusion do you mean? Because there is no confusion about virgins versus a virgin birth.
So the idea is that you know, that term misunderstood it could have been, right, by a majority of the people, because they hear that word and then they connect that to Anakin being born from a virgin, a woman that had no father. So
because the first six films, that's the only time that's ever been mentioned.
Right. And so those two dots are connected in the majority of people's minds.
Correct.
Right. Correct. So then you get to this point and they use the term again in a show that has all this controversy, and they're like,
oh my God, that's it. They're breaking canon. See, virgins don't matter. Oh my God.
And then that's what we get. That's where we're at.
No,
right?
Yeah.
That's exactly where we're at.
Yes. And so here's facts for you, okay? Because I know you love facts.
I love facts.
The expanded universe was never canon. Not
Spit
once.
those facts.
Not ever.
I'm loving your facts even more when they solidify my argument.
Okay. Not once, not ever, not since 1977. None, zero, zilch. It was never canon. The expanded universe was a way for George Lucas to make money so that he can build the prequel series, okay, and the TV series. It is a money-making vehicle that he was absolutely genius.
The prime Marvel universe, right?
Yeah, he was genius in doing, okay, because he was a genius with that shit, with the merch, with all of it, right? So all of that was somebody came to him with an idea. And he was like, ooh, I like this idea, but that's a separate universe. And he said that himself. He's like, this is my universe, and that's a separate universe.
Okay, boy. Thank you, Steve. Oh, man. You're just, right at the half-hour mark, too, man. You do it.
Coming in, that boy.
You do it to me too nice, bro. You're too nice about it. Okay.
All right. So let me continue because I'm coming to that.
Go, do it. All right. I'm just bringing some shit up. You're good.
So George himself would say, I go in and I'll check if a certain name has already been used, if something's been already done, or maybe there's a great idea in there that I can pull from. And he literally did that for the Clone Wars. There's a lot of EU elements in the Clone Wars. What happens is, back in the day, we didn't have this word. Canon wasn't a word, really, okay?
Right.
For that long ago. We just had an alternate universe. And we had a grading scale, okay, of how canon, quote unquote, something is. Main canon, the canon, is the films, TV shows.
Downloads.
Period. Yeah. So there's not even the books, not even like none of that, okay? So for somebody to say that, they retconned this or that in the Darth Plagueis novel is absolute shit. Doesn't count because Darth Plagueis is EU. That whole book is EU.
There you go. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, look, I am of the persuasion that so here's what I was trying to share.
Mm-hmm.
So for all my friends that use this argument that Steve is making, which is, I'm going to use, don't get offended, Steve, I'm going to use the voice.
Bruh, Plague should be what, 15? What the fuck is happening? I hate this series.
Okay, so this is from the book, and this is Palpatine and Plagueis having a little tit for tat, right? They're talking. And at one point, Plagueis asks, well, just how old are you? And Plagueis' response is very simple. In human years, I would be well over 100 years. 100, well over. That's not like, oh, I'm like 115. That's like well over.
Yeah, what's well over? Is that like a shit ton?
No.
Right.
So I will say this. Everyone tends to forget that there is another Tarkin book. I mean, a Darth Plagueis book.
Right.
Where he's mentioned, and it is the Tarkin book, which is canon.
Well, I mean, everything's canon until it's shown in live action, as far as I'm concerned. Right.
I mean, that's
because Kanan's
like
story was canon in a comic until they made the Bad Batch, and then it's like, okay, that story is no longer
originally
valid.
that was what Lucasfilm considered to be main, quote unquote, the main canon, right? Like that's their. It was just, if it's not in live action in some way or in animation in some way,
it's up for
grabs.
Yeah,
right.
It's on the chopping block, right? But my point is, even if you have the conversation about both written words, well over 100 is not a little thing. So it leaves it, unless he was like, I was born in 185 BBY, right? I don't think he's got a scroll that he's announcing his birthday in every book and every.
I mean, if you read what he's saying, he's kind of talking to him like your puny human mind could not comprehend my age.
Yeah, there is some references where Palpatine is like 35, 40, and there's some references that people could go back to kind of put his age between, I think it was like 120.
I just don't remember,
or something like that.
Palpatine
It's like 120 BBY would have been like around his, because he was killed. Darth Plagueis, that I can't speak because of my cold.
In 195 BBY.
I can't even hear you. I'm not in the best of setup, guys. I'm on my mobile phone.
You're mine.
There is some references to him being, because Darth Plagueis was killed almost like right before episode 1.
Yeah. If not, well, actually, he was killed right after episode 1, because wasn't he on Coruscant when Anakin first got there? Was the idea that he was in the shadows of when Anakin visited Coruscant?
Of the opera scene?
No. When he was a little fella. When he was
a little kid.
In episode 1.
Yeah.
So the idea, at least from what I understand, the ongoing consensus is that Plagueis was always around.
Yeah.
Until he was like.
And you know what? Clearly, get over the fucking age. He's on screen. Like
right.
Well, and he looked great.
Over the age, but
for everybody that complains about the Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor, for every complaint about,
it doesn't look like it's supposed to. They did it wrong again.
Right.
For all of those arguments, he looked dope.
Yeah, so he did. I love the way he looked.
He looked dope as shit.
Here's the thing. I think this is where, and I wrote this on Twitter as well, where I said, I think what the thing that people are most upset about when it comes to these books, right, and these novels, is I have a very dear friend of mine who absolutely loves those novels. And I think that what's going on is that Disney seems to keep choosing the very best novels of the EU and it's going, ooh, people really love this. Let's do that, right? And and what happens is they go and they take it and they change it And when people, it's the same with the Heir to the Empire, right? Same discourse.
Mm-hmm.
When you love a trilogy like Thrawn or a book like Darth Plagueis, those are beloved things that people have an emotional connection to in some way or another. And if you start messing with that, that's where people get really upset. And I'll be honest with you, I did not like this series. I felt it was completely unoriginal in almost all instances. It was a lot of copy and paste from other creators, and there was nothing really new or original being offered.
Well,
I mean, right down to the Kylo Ren hand on the edge of the fucking cliff as she's pulling up, the same exact pan down with the hand of Ben Solo. I was like, what the hell are you doing?
But there's also, I mean, yes, but there was also a lot of new information, right? So, you know,
new information
to the
because
Muggles.
it's a new character.
No, to the Muggles, right? You got to understand, it's not new to us, right? Kurtosis, the rule of two, you know, all of these little nuances, bleeding crystals, all of these things these are all new to the Muggles. They haven't read the Vader comic. They haven't gone through the EU or read any of the books that they're letting out right now. Half of them, a majority of them, did not play Jedi Survivor, so they don't understand how a bleeding crystal in real time, right? Like this, the argument right now is, and I'm going to do my voice. The argument right now is,
it took Vader like 3 or 4 Force visions to bleed his crystal. This is bullshit. The bullshit crystals bleeding immediately.
Right. Okay. So number one, that's, again, we go back to, that's a comic book that can or cannot be canonized or not based on what they do with Vader and
Oshmir
stuff.
or Oshmir.
Right. But then we get fast forward a little bit. We get to Jedi Survivor not too long ago. In fact, this year, and we watch a character bleed his crystal, take it out of his lightsaber, bleed it, put it back in, and then a fight. Right. So you see that in the moment. This time,
I didn't take too much offense to that, to be honest.
Okay, then we get to this moment where we are watching a character who is already having issues with her allegiances, and then she finds out all the information she found out. You killed my mom, you lied to me, you manipulated me, you're a piece of shit, right?
Stop
and then
talking.
She tells him to stop talking. She chokes him to death. As she's doing that, she's bleeding. It was such a cool shot.
It was unintentional.
Thank you.
It was such a cool shot. And in the moment, I was like, well, she broke the emitter, or when they threw the lightsaber, it broke something, maybe the emitter or something at the top of the saber. And you heard the glass breaking or something. So I was like, oh, what? Is that going to be broken? Is it going to be like Kylo Ren's lightsaber where it's all jagged and crazy, which I thought would have been a way cooler effect, because that would have played more. That would have played more to the Kylo Ren like music shit. That would have been way cooler of a connection. But anyways, as she's holding the saber and choking the shit out of this dude, her veins are illustrating the bleeding into the crystal as she's holding the hilt. Did you not catch that?
I gotta watch girl, that.
You know me. I'm gonna
good, but what I'm trying to say,
in her skin.
Dude, you didn't catch that shit. Okay, watch. I'm gonna pull it up because it's so worth it to risk my 7 seconds of shame.
Understood. It's cool. Nobody's taken away from the fact that it's cool.
Oh, what a good
when Dagan Guerra did that in Jedi Survivor, and because
no one complained.
Jedi Survivor,
no said a word.
Okay.
No one complained, and all they did was tell him he couldn't go have his own temple and play with his friends.
He was very intentional about it, and he did pour all of his force into it. And we're talking Dagan Guerra, who was probably one of the most powerful Jedi in his time. And he had gone through years and decades of training, right? So I feel like that was a little off for me. I'll be honest. And like I said, there's just a lot of copy pasta in the show. It was just copied from other places and other creators, and I just felt like a lot of it was just not original at all.
Well,
I mean, it's not facts, right? Because it's art that you're commenting on.
Listen, I saw your episode ratings. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, look again.
There were some good episodes. I really loved the fighting. The fight choreography in this episode was stellar.
You're a savage. You gave almost every episode a 1.
I know that there was one that had a 6,
but like,
and one that had a 5.5.
1.
Yeah, listen,
that's crazy to me. It was not that bad. People are like very over dramatic.
I've heard. So here's
it was a 1 for me because nothing really was answered.
Like, here's what I'm talking about.
We still don't know where the twins.
Oh, that is crazy. Yeah, I missed that.
Right, like all of that as it's happening, you can see, you can kind of get
shot.
It just like all the veins connecting right to the what is the Kyber crystal, or what is the emitter, or what is the whatever. Like this moment right here was super cool, well illustrated, honest. I was having this conversation with Matt earlier today, and for me, I don't know if you've ever been stopped by rage, like literally stopped in your tracks and just like shaking it out rage, right?
Oh, I that response.
Okay, I have had these moments in the real world as a younger, older, maybe last week moments in my life, and I have to tell you that in that moment, that's what I saw from Mocha, right? Is a moment where you're literally being manipulated, lied to, whatever, but ultimately this is a moment of pure rage. And I feel like if Dagon Guerra was angry and felt hurt by his people and meditated for less than a minute in his rage as a powerful Jedi of the High Republic,
right,
this young woman who doesn't
know how to do that, like
that's the best part. She doesn't know how to do this. They've been telling her, you're powerful, you're powerful, you don't know your power, you're scared of your power, right? She doesn't use it from being a child. She doesn't use her power the way May does. She's scared of it. She doesn't want to use it, right? And if she does, she wants to use it to become a Jedi. She has a hard time force grabbing a tiny little droid, right? So she's clearly closed off, hesitant to use the Force. In this moment, she's raging out, unknowing what she's doing to that saber. She doesn't take it out and meditate on it and take 10 minutes to do that. It's literal rage from the core.
I mean, we're also like talking about this as like, we're talking about this as if she has any fucking control. It's not. We keep saying things like she doesn't know how, but listen, hold on. We keep saying things like she doesn't know how to do this. Cool. It's the fucking dark side doing it. And the fact that it happened to her, not purposefully, is terrifying. I don't understand where we're like missing the fact that like the dark side is doing this shit, and that's fucking scary.
That's all good and dandy. I just don't feel like this show really had a lot of focus, had a lot of like story.
Well, I agree. I think that's the argument for a lot of people, actually, is that this is another story all about how Osha's life got turned upside down. And I'd like to take a minute and sit right here. But look, I mean, ultimately, this is a story that is a little disjointed. Again, I continue to say that Lucasfilm still to this day has a huge problem making television shows. They have
absolutely
huge problem making shows that are live action. They're great at movies. Maybe some of these shows should be movies, but ultimately they have a really hard time with television shows in the timing, in the acting, in the directing. I was trying to give Leslie the benefit of the doubt. I even still do. In some regards, this show was not as awful as people think. I think the weight of the social media pressure has weighed a lot of the reviews and a lot of that, because immediately from the show's inception, it was more of the Leslie narrative than it was about the excitement of the show. Then you get into the show and it's about the DET. Did I say that right? DEI. It's all about DEI and inclusivity and no males in the character and all lesbian show and an all DEI. You know, that conversation led into 3 or 4 weeks of the show. Then we get to the good shit. And then it's like, oh, then it's the Wookiee doesn't fight. He just laying there dead. What a missed opportunity. Then we see the Wookiee fight and he's like crushing skulls and looking awesome. There's so much of this that in one shot may have landed better. I don't know yet. I have to watch the whole thing through from stem to stern and dedicate the hours. But the narrative for this show was negative before a single frame of the show was seen. And that negativity runs really far in the interpretation and the weight of how the show is accepted. Now, not necessarily from you as a creator gives it a different weight, right? Who's involved in projects that are in everybody's home. It's different for you. It's different for me.
It is.
But ultimately, the main narrative for most of the people has been negative just due to the simple fact that the series before a frame was shown was more Leslie's background and her PR presence tanked the show before the show started.
I keep saying this as high as I can. I keep telling everybody on our team, hey, can you have got to get these creators to stop talking about details of the show. They can do it exactly like Tony Gil. Can they just take a page out of Tony Gilroy's book, who just talks about excited he is to work with Diego and this and that and blah, 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 blah. So he doesn't give you any fucking details.
Cole, this is the same thing I've been saying, is that people who loved Andor didn't like this, but people who like this didn't like Andor. So it's like, where's
the people that loved Andor?
But where's the bar?
And then there's everything else.
That's the thing. There's no bar. There's no bar for how good or bad. And if Rotten Tomatoes is the bar, then I quit.
Well, the bar is the Bible that George Lucas created. Let's be honest.
But George isn't doing interviews.
There's
George
people on one side of that Bible, and there's people on the other. And it's this fandom has some of the largest echo chambers of any fandom of any IP.
Sure.
And that's the only reason that we're here. They did it with the High Republic comics. They'll do it with every piece of High Republic content from now until forever because it has an NPC haircut they don't like.
Right. Okay.
Get over here.
Stand by 1 second. I have some obligations to take care of. So hold on 1 second. Let me take care of this real quick. So just so everybody knows, we have sponsorship on this show now. So I didn't know if you were aware of this. This gives our talent a few minutes. But this segment was sponsored by the Matt Cave. If you don't know, the merch over there is fantastic, and this mug has literally made every day better. When I'm feeling down and blue, you just really want to grab your Matt Cave mug and get yourself something to drink and enjoy. So yeah, get over there, get yourself a Matt Cave mug. I'll put the link in the bio at the end of the stream. So so back to it. We're going to continue our conversation. I just had to get some obligatory stuff out of the way.
Okay, now explain the Andor treatment. Go.
What do you mean? Oh, me?
I don't know. What do people mean when they say it's too bad the show didn't get the Andor treatment?
Well, the Gilroy.
What in my opinion, that is
that's the Gilroys.
No, it's not just Tony and the Gilroys in general, but it's the caliber of the directors, the caliber of the actors, the caliber of the writing, and the autonomy that Tony Gilroy had to create that show.
So the Gilroys. I mean that's you literally just gave me a list of why it's the Gilroys.
Well,
the Gilroys had autonomy.
But other I am a strong proponent of Sean Levy. I'm telling you, when I say that I think the Rey movie is going to end up being Chinoid away, and Sean Levy is going to be coming in, and if that happens, this is very speculative of my part. I'll preface that, but if that happens, I guarantee Adam Driver's coming back. for that movie.
Look, again, we
and
go
so
back.
like when I'm talking about caliber of writers, all the light we cannot see, right? So that kind of writing, that kind of like production design, that kind of like just everything about that is what when we say the Andor treatment.
This fandom is very, very forgetful. I have to this fandom.
Thank you.
The first 6 episodes of Andor came out, everybody was like, what is this? This isn't a Star Wars show. This is a spy thriller espionage. What the fuck is this?
And
no lightsabers.
Please. So what makes it a good show? It's not Star Wars. Like, Jesus Christ, do you not want Star Wars? Go watch something else.
But that's every show now. That's the narrative. That's the complaint. That's the same. The thing is, they're playing the same song. You're playing the same song over and over. This isn't Star Wars. This isn't what George would have wanted. This isn't blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, get a new argument. Right? That's it. Get a new argument.
Andor was successful because it was successful amongst the Muggles.
Right. It was successful. I think it was successful because it had a caliber, it appealed to a certain audience and not the Muggles. Well, Muggles don't understand anything about what they're seeing.
Right, but at the same time, don't you also feel that in this pocket of time that we're seeing these shows, Andor got so much hate during its run.
Correct, but it still ended up being one of the highly rated.
Okay, but Andor got the same treatment. Acolyte is getting the same treatment Andor got. The exact same treatment. The initial hate for the clicks and the views to make sure everybody gets their monthly income that are monetized on all the hate bombing, right? So they've made their money. Now this is the next show for them to bash and to get their clicks. And I get it. I'm not hating the player. I'm hating the game.
Well,
right? I can't do everything all at once everywhere.
Right. Like, here's the thing. Here's what I think. What I think, and I'm sorry to say it, okay? And I am privy to some of that in my space, is I think that Disney has this directive that it seems to a lot of people like they just want to piss off people. They want to create more division than unity, right? Because it pays more.
Well,
I have to agree. I have to agree to a point because, like,
why would you
I can't remember who was saying this. I think it was actually like Ice Cube. I heard an interview with him, and they're talking about the type of content that big companies make. There's 2 types of content. There's propaganda and there's profit. Some of these shows are made literally for the message. They don't give a shit how much it makes. Some of the shit is made because they know it's going to make billions. We just got to figure it out before it happens. And I think a lot of people know what the Acolyte was about. And I think a lot of the fandom needs to get over the fact that, like, there's going to be more of this. There's a new generation of fandom coming up, and we're not alone out here. It's not just the OT anymore, guys.
Well, okay, so here's what here. And so I'm watching this interesting show right now. I'm watching this show called Sweet Tooth. I don't know if you've caught it. It's on Netflix.
Oh, it's horrible.
It's a very interesting show. I enjoy post-apocalyptic shows.
Maria hates everything I love.
So this show is quite interesting, but the reader,
Scotty,
the Reader's Digest of this show is just a post-apocalyptic scenario in which one group is widely exterminated and basically a genocide, right? And so I'm watching these shows again. I like shows, a lot of people don't. That's okay. I'm okay with that. But I'm watching this show and I think about Star Wars in the fact that we always have this, so this big Twitter thing that was out. There's more of us. There's more of us. There's more of us. There's more of us.
There's more of us. There's more of us. There's more of us.
Right. I in the space, at least the space that I live in, because I don't live in the Twitterverse as much as I do here. In this space, the positive viewpoint, the positive narrative is very, very understaffed, let's say. And that's fine. It doesn't bother me being on the underdog side of the team, but at the same time, this story, another story, we see the same. Again, you were talking about the repeating of use of shots and stuff, but we see the same story that we've seen throughout this entire duration of Star Wars, this 50 years of Star Wars, and that there are secrets. Everybody's holding secrets. Everybody's,
yeah. I mean, yeah, and I'll argue that Tony Gilroy's story is pretty unique.
True. Tony Gilroy also has the benefit of having done the entire Bourne series, right?
Well, yeah,
and so
but
the man has a spy thriller background in a spy thriller Star Wars. I mean, could those two puzzle pieces,
and then you hire someone that does Russian dolls to do this Acolyte series
again?
That's
but
stupid.
do you feel like this show was any differently tempoed than Russian dolls?
Yes, very much so.
See, I didn't like Russian dolls at all.
Russian dolls was great, but Russian dolls was a unique take on a Groundhog Day kind of like situation, which made it unique. But it was a very specific artistic thing. And really, if you want to, if I want a spy thriller, I'll hire the spy thriller guy. And that same premise isn't applied to the other director.
True. So instead of this, they should have got the guy that did Knives Out.
I agree with that. Actually, I think Ryan Johnson would have been great to do the Acolyte, and maybe
Scotty, that was just for you, dude. That was
I appreciate it, dude. I wish people would let. I wish people.
I love Knives Out.
Scotty.
No, I agree. Like, I wish people would let directors do a full project rather than passing the baton back and forth. Like,
right? Like, let them do a project in what they are known to be good in. Like, I think, honestly, I mean, I know you love TLJ. I don't. I don't like.
I love it all. I'm not biased. I'm like a mom with her kids that literally loves all her kids.
Always maintained. Scotty knows I've always maintained that I am 50-50 on TLJ.
I put that movie over 9. 9 ruined
100%.
9 ruined
100%. I hate about 90% of the dross. Yeah. So I hear you. But hey, I love 90% of TFA. So there you go.
I think a lot of people's initial reactions to that film was positive, and then after the next one, people are like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, because 8 and 9 made 7 terrible.
Yep.
Let's put it that way, right?
I agree.
You hire a creator, a writer, a director, a showrunner, based on you look at what they've done in the past, and you go, they were really good at this. So let's hire that person to do a show that's very good. That we know they're going to be very good at doing this. And I think Disney really has a problem with that.
Well, I mean, Disney has a DEI problem. Like, no doubt. I'm not making videos about it every day.
That's corporatism, yeah.
But they have a corporate narrative that allows them to 100%. Hire the maybe the people that aren't as, I don't want to say as qualified, but people, honestly, for me, this should have been a Bryce Dallas Howard project.
You can say it. You can say it. They're not qualified to do a particular type of project. And that's very true.
I'm saying maybe this wasn't the best project for this person, is what I'm saying. This person might have done a project better.
I agree.
A different project better, but this project, maybe this should have been somebody like Bryce Dallas Howard. Maybe you shouldn't.
I don't know why they don't give her something.
She could be busy doing Jurassic Park stuff. She could be busy doing a duration of stuff. She's got more than just a
totally. But I mean, you pay someone something, they will. You know what I'm saying? Like, back that Brinks truck up. They got the money.
The one thing that I can say in this show, and the one thing that I can illustrate is that as much as everybody talked about narrative, Leslie's political and personal narrative is going to take over the show. I didn't see it. I didn't see this I don't know, push that everybody was complaining about, right? I'm not saying she wrote a great show. I like I said, I feel like every show, even
I
the
will
ones
tell
I
you,
really like.
I'm gonna, and you can clip this. I don't think DEI is the problem. Okay, and if you think so, I think you're mistaken.
Oh,
DEI is an idea, and that idea was absolutely 100% needed in this country. Okay, absolutely 100%. The problem is that DEI has been hijacked by corporations as a mean to market their products,
well,
and that's the problem.
The same as woke. Woke isn't woke. It's not woke with woke. You know, I mean,
They hijacked that shit
it,
long
They
ago.
hijacked that shit too.
My point being is that the idea, you can't really deny that Star Wars right now is really into hiring female directors, right? And directors that have an agenda of their own. It may not be the
And Bob Iger's going to probably put a nix on that.
And whatever. My point being is that maybe this wasn't the best project. The Gilroys are great at writing dialogue, right? The entire Bourne series. So you've got years and years of dialogue that's great, that is appreciated
Listen, Rail.
worldwide because of their talent for dialogue and storytelling. You bring them in to do a spy thriller, it gets shit on a huge scale. Andor and Acolyte are getting the same treatment. I don't speak whatever you want to speak.
Not.
No, hell yeah, they are.
No, they're not. Andor did not get review bombed. Andor did not get any of that. And
True.
Andor, even the people that hated Andor would say, but Stellan Skarsgård, man, that motherfucker killed it, right? Like, sorry for the bad words.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay,
all words are good here. It's in
right?
English
So
dictionary.
It's not getting the same treatment. And if you go look on Rotten Tomatoes, I know people hate Rotten Tomatoes, but if you go look on Rotten Tomatoes, you'll see their standings for Andor. They never got the bad reviews that Acolyte is getting.
Let's put the mass media aside. Let's put the Rotten Tomatoes and the pollsters, let's call them, because that's all they are. They're just a poll. Let's put the pollsters aside and just go off of what you see on just YouTube, right? Well, you will use this platform as a metric. You can't, it's getting the same treatment that it got during Andor. The only difference is I see different people saying, I'll watch this show, but wouldn't watch Andor. And then there's some that are like, I'm not watching any of it. And then there's some like, I'm watching all of it. But it's getting, if you look on social media, not mainstream media, not the pollsters, it's getting the exact same treatment, right? So for me, you know, it lands the same as Andor, right? I mean,
yeah, I see where you're going. I do see where you're going.
And that's where I measure. I don't measure. Yeah. If I measure on Twitter, it's a 50-50, right? If I measure on YouTube, that's the metric that I live on. And right now, on that metric alone, it's getting the exact same treatment as Andor. The same amount of hate and bile that's going towards Andor, saying Andor wasn't Star Wars. This isn't Star Wars. Being judge, jury, and executioner of what is and isn't canon and what is or isn't Star Wars is exactly the same. It's the exact same treatment. And I wish it wasn't, but it is.
I respectfully disagree. I think I don't think Andor was called trash. Or
sure it was.
woke.
Josh,
I didn't see
nerds
that.
wouldn't even cover it. They wouldn't even watch it.
Oh,
that's
I
how
know,
trash it was.
But he just said he wasn't going to cover it, right? He didn't
watch it.
There wasn't any posts by him like knocking the shit out. Now, like, I feel like maybe in that sense, what might be different is just Andor was clearly written by men, show ran by men. And I think that we do, as women, get a lot of extra hate.
Sure.
Right? Because it's a woman, like Deborah Chow, right? Because it's a woman being the showrunner. And that may cause extra hate. right?
Well,
Because whether
yes.
you want to say, whether you want to agree with it or not, there are bigots and misogynists in this fandom. Period.
Sure. There's
Okay. It's
misogynists
not
in every
all
fandom.
of us, right? Yeah, it's not all of us. It's a small percentage of us, but they are I cannot stand it when people go Star Wars and trust me, I know I'm a friend with people who say this, okay? Star Wars fans are just fans. No, we're not. There's a percentage of us that are actually ists and phobes. Yes. So,
Yeah, I mean,
I
look,
think that's where she's getting more.
Oh, did you lose a whisker, little one? I'm gonna save that for later. Yeah, I mean, there's but that goes both ways. There's misogynists and haters on the platform, and then there's feminists and haters on that side, right? So it swings both ways. But you right now with, like I said, Acolyte's getting the same treatment that Andor got. Whether a man, woman, whoever wrote it, whoever directed it, whoever's in charge of it, as far as I'm concerned, now the mainstream media and the mainstream may be seeing a different perspective because Rotten Tomatoes, you have different critics, you have different that. But as far as social media is concerned, I feel like on Twitter, it's getting the same response, 50-50 split. On YouTube, it's the same. It's 75-25, right? 75% of the people are bashing it, hating it, and getting those clicks, and 25% are like, yay, hi, let's go. So, it's getting the same treatment. Now, remind me, anybody in the chat or anybody, do you remember the budget for Andor?
235 million across 2 seasons.
And it's less than for both seasons, you said?
For 2 seasons, yes.
Okay, so it's more.
12 episodes each.
So it's like 60 million more.
Yeah. More.
I heard there were, again, but that number won't be solidified until after Andor's done.
That's
shot
before marketing. That's before, that's
before reshoots and edits. That's what I'm saying. So by the end of it,
the Acolyte is probably topping over at 225.
Right. So let's
right,
call it
marketing and all that.
For argument's sake, let's say all things being equal, they're equal budget, if not within 10% of one another. This show and that show to me looked great. I enjoyed the look of this show. I enjoyed the costume design of this show. I enjoyed the character, the helmet. I'm sad that I don't have one of those going on my shelf because I didn't get in on the pre-order. Like, I am really fucking sad that I didn't get in on that pre-order. And if you hear me, Hasbro, and you want some favor, like if you're feeling charitable to a guy that's charitable to everybody else,
favors, guys, you hear
send that shit here because it'll go on that shelf and we'll use it for what it's intended for. But that's how much I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed the show so much that I missed the pre-order of that helmet because I thought it was such a cool addition to the lore. Right.
I'll say what I said during the NFL taking a knee boycotts. If you're gonna burn any of your merchandise, I got a PO box for you. Okay, so just DM me.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, KG, Kenobi also had, from what I understand, Kenobi got issued a rebudget based on the anthology's failure. So they shot a bunch of stuff.
That's right. That went through all kinds of bullshit.
They went through all kinds of money to shoot something that I think Kenobi was only in the last like 10 minutes of the movie. And they were like, nope, kibosh that. They reallocated money and funds. And so it didn't get the full budget that it should have been allocated from Jump Street if they would have started with this
it
project.
Also got, was it 6 episodes?
Yeah, very, very small, much smaller show. But ultimately the budget was because they had already budgeted for the anthology. But after Solo took such a dive, and the story was such the story that they had produced and shot and edited and was in first viewings was so god awful. They took it off the platform, they took it off the plate and rewrote it into a show. And that's the show we got. And that's why the budget was so shit, because they had to reallocate funds to the project because it was such a disaster from Jump Street. That
is correct.
What up, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of backstory to a lot of that stuff, and a lot of people don't pay attention to that stuff, and that's fine. 3 seconds is all I needed to literally bust out of my chair and get excited. Like, I was like, oh shit, they did it. I had to
Here's
rewind.
yeah, no, I here's the thing. So for me personally, I really thought this show, and I gotta tell you, here's a little tidbit. This show was not the show that was originally pitched to Kathleen Kennedy.
Okay.
Okay. There was a lot of changes, and a lot. And I feel like Disney might have Disneyfied this show because, to be fair, this was another Jedi show, and it was not the Sith show that we were promised in 2020.
Well, that's true. That is very true. This is not the bloody version of the Sith.
It was, first of all, it was supposed to be rated R. Okay. And it was, I think, to be honest with you, I really do believe that Chimere was supposed to be venomous. And we were supposed to see Tenebrous. And we were supposed to see the struggle of the apprentices, right? All vying to be Tenebrous's main guy, right? Which ends up being Plagueis. And so I still believe that. And when I saw Plagueis come on the screen, I gotta say, I was really excited to see him in live action, but I also thought it was grossly misplaced. I would have liked to have seen Darth Tenebrous come there. And that would have made more sense for me.
Well, I mean, but at the same time, this also leaves a huge opportunity to capture those
rewrite.
Stories,
yeah,
right?
To rewrite, basically rewrite Darth Plagueis. And again, that's where I think the vitriol for this show comes from. Well, is you're rewriting a novel, even if it's not canon. You're rewriting a novel that most Star Wars fans really, really love.
But how much do you really learn about Plagueis in one book that they can, expand so much about this character? And if they don't bring him into it, we never get him at all.
That means nothing to me, to be honest. Like at this point, the Ahsoka book was used for a 15-minute a short, basically.
Oh, guys, right? I got my nurses coming in.
Okay,
I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.
Later.
I mean, the Ahsoka book was taken into a 15-minute episode of Tales of the Jedi, right? We didn't get to see the lightsaber purification, the crystal purification. We didn't get to see any of that stuff. So ultimately, look, these novels are canon until they're not.
And right? Tenebrous dies within the first 15 pages.
Well, that's just it. I mean,
so it's like
if this is a prelude to a Plagueis Palpatine story, where really at the time Plagueis was just one of many apprentices at that time. So who's to say, and furthermore, who's to say that his apprentice, like Palpatine, isn't looking for an apprentice to help take him down, right? Like that's the Sith way, is to find an apprentice to help take out your master, and then you're the boss, right? So ultimately, it just feels like this is following suit. People just don't want to hear it. People just aren't into, seeing this story succeed for whatever reason. And that's okay. I mean, if you're not into it, you're not into it, but go through the whole story, watch it, and then come to me with some receipts. Because right now, the thing I am most sad about is that I'm not on the Acolyte loot box list. Like that's the thing I'm the most sad about, is I saw a bunch of creators getting Acolyte loot boxes, and I'm like, I didn't get no Acolyte loot box. And I'm like the shill of all shills. I'm like Jack Shillington. I'm like King Shillington of Shilltown.
Well, I'll see your King Shillington, and I'll up you this theory. I'll outshill your shill with the theory I have.
I love it. Let's do it.
I mean, arguably these two characters, Chimere and Osha, they can do whatever they want with them. These two completely they could get out of reach of Plagueis for a time being.
Sure.
And I got a lot. People are gonna hate this shit, but I got a lot of Bastila Revan vibes with the two of them, and the fact that she was a Jedi or wanted to be a Jedi. Now she's dark side, but she could come back to the light like Revan did. I think Disney is trying to set up the Bastila Revan relationship, like as far as the Force is concerned, that balance, that ping pong. I think they're trying to make this poetry throughout all of the generations. I think Kylo and Rey were an example of this, and how the Force can be tethered between two people and pulled back and forth between the light.
Wait. Are you saying that you're using a string analogy? Don't do that shit.
No, I'm just saying that's
similar
like
to threads. See, if you do strings are like this and threads are like this. They're too similar. You be careful because threads go like this, and if you rotate threads, they become strings, and if you rotate strings, they become threads. So be careful.
Yeah, but if it's all about like that balance and the yin and the yang of it all, I just feel like it's cool that within every generation of these stories, they're showing love relationships and the desire between two people, and that it can actually, like within their lifetime, send them to the darkest of darks and bring them back to the light. So I don't know. That's the shit that fascinates me, and that's the stuff that like is not lost in the Force with me, and what George teaches about the Force and what I've learned from him. So
and so this, dangling key, the daddy's keys dangling, right? When does Star Wars not use bait? That's literally what every post scene of every series has been about, right? Every post-credit scene for everything is a key dangling moment, right? From the first time we see a post-credit scene, the first one I remember seeing was Tony Stark in the Hulk, where he walks in to talk to Ross, right? Those post-credit scenes are key dangling moments. Though that's exactly what they're doing. And so that key dangling moment with Plagueis, great. I love it because I wanted to see him on screen, and they did him proud. They did him solid. He looked great.
He looked badass.
Right? Creepy as fuck. Right? Then you give me Yoda at the end. Okay, I could have gone without that. But the fact that that one lying green asshole is going to see another lying green asshole is poetry to me.
Yes, hell yes.
Right? Like the fact that
good, yes, you should have brought this to me earlier.
Hidden this better. I could have
killed them all now.
Poor job you did. Could have covered up better. I could in my sleep. Look, man, the fact that he's shown is important because again, he's meditating as the High Council would. He wouldn't be going out on odd jobs at this point. If he's on the High Council, he's meditating on the Force, he's playing politics, all that fun stuff. But
Kiadi Mundi already told me.
Yeah, Kiadi Mundi working on a place on the council. He is already narked you out. He did, yes. But
he's going on a t-shirt. Fuck.
Think you Mace Windu got idea by himself? Kiadi Mundi give playbook to how to get on Jedi Council. He did.
Oh my god. Rebel scum.
That's dude, yeah. I mean, it's look. The one. It's just funny, man. I try to just have fun, man. And these are the things that I think about, dude. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I try to bring people in to offer their legit even Maria was a big negative on this show. Her scores were shit.
Brutal.
Brutal. But again, as a creator, she can be a little more harsh, right? As somebody who creates mainstream content and is involved in a lot of these bigger projects and knows secrets and information that we're not privy to, that NDAs keep a large part of. Somebody like that doesn't like it. Great. I'm not going to shit on you for not liking it, but again, I need some information from you as to why you don't like it. Right? I feel great. Have your feelings, but I need facts and more information. So, but again, who is to say how a character is to be introduced? Are we supposed to see him on the Senate floor? Was he supposed to be one of the senators sitting at that table? Would it have made sense for him to be sitting at a council about to investigate them? No. If anything, you should have seen him with the senator that came to talk to Vanestra You should have seen him talking to him privately in a hallway or something, maybe with his influence. But this is perfectly fine because if anything, his Sith ways are hidden. They're complete. There's just like how Palpatine learned how to do it.
He's hella aware, and that's all we know.
Right. He knows, like, we don't know that he was involved with Chimere, or we don't know that he was following those two. Right. We don't know the level at which he's involved. Did he just stumble upon his cave as they're leaving? Is he just letting them go with a tracker on their ship or something? We don't know. You're just jumping to the conclusion that should have been this grandiose. We should have seen him killing somebody initially. That should have been the way he was introduced. And it's not for us to say. Take what they give us. He looked awesome. Take the win. He looked fucking awesome. They didn't give him the Grand Inquisitor treatment. He looked fucking awesome, right? So take that W instead of complaining about how and why. Take the W that he looked fucking awesome.
Guys, can slow-mo be a W? Can we start? Can slow-mo start being a W?
See,
remember, but hear me out. You remember back when the prequels came out and like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon just ran really fast during that swipe scene?
Yeah.
Like the fuck. Personally, I'd rather see it on screen, and slow motion does nothing but enhance what the ability is doing and our ability to see it. Like it's just.
Now I am not a
slow-mo triggering people for
the slow-mo doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the wire work. The wire work feels too Matrix. They did it with Trinity in the intro. I get it. I'm not hating on it. I'm just
Crouching
saying,
Tiger, Hidden Dragon of like her running up the stairs and shit too. Like
that's what I mean. That part,
the animated fight scene between Anakin and Ventress is some of the most Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon Star Wars shit I've ever seen, and it's arguably the best duel they've ever done.
And KG, like, thank you for illustrating.
Now people hate it because it's all slow. It's just,
on the Plagueis front. Thank you for and everybody immediately knew it was Plagueis. Nobody was like, "Oh, who's that guy?"
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Where's this character? What is this guy doing? Like,
that's not Plagueis. He's 15 years old.
Guys, it's not Plagueis, okay? This guy's too old. He looks like Plagueis' grandpa.
Yeah, man. Again, it's just something to complain about, right? It's just another thing to get clicks. It's just something to complain about, bro. It does it really matter that you think you're right based on a novelization that isn't in the written word right now? I mean, come on. It's just like everybody knew it was Plagueis. About Yoda. Yeah, I mean, just like, the shroud of darkness that covered his eyes before. Again, it's just more of his arrogance. I thought it was really cool how Vanestra, as soon as her foot set foot on the planet, she felt everything that was going on, and every Jedi that was there. I thought that was super dope. I was like, yo, that's awesome. That she sensed him immediately, and his fear level went from 0. He's like, oh shit, I gotta put on my helmet. It's like Magneto when he senses Professor X. He's like, oh, right. Yeah. It was really cool. Why my ISO keeps jumping.
Now here's the thing too with Yoda. Like, everyone is like, well, why didn't Yoda know everything? Why didn't Yoda sense this happening? Who's to say he did it? Who's to say he isn't? And he just knows some shit. Like, I don't know. Yoda's always been sus for me.
Hey, look, Charlie loved it, bro. Charlie loved it. If Charlie loved it, everybody should love it, dude. Like, yes, Charlie almost kicked down a door. Yes, I feel sorry for that door. I've watched you on Instagram, bro. I feel sorry for that door. You stay fucking cool, pony boy. If you don't read, that's a reference. If you don't read, you should be reading.
Star Wars fans don't read
and have not watched the movie. Yeah, look, I mean, I feel like they wrapped everything up in a real neat bow. The Sith aren't back. Master Soul did it, right? Yeah. Like, okay, continuity
Fall
saved.
Guy, bro.
Fall Guy. They did him dirty, man. Let's be real. They did him, and granted,
hung out to dry. She apologized to his dead corpse. I'm sorry. I got to shit on you even more.
I was like, what is she saying to him? Like,
yeah,
you got what you deserved, or like,
yeah,
like I wasn't sure what she was saying.
Bro, but to protect our peace, you got to do this for us again.
Dude, He's like,
You
yeah,
think his Force Ghost was like standing right behind her?
bro,
Like,
he didn't have time to Force Ghost, bro. They did him so dirty that his Force he didn't really repent, so I don't think he got to Force Ghost. And according to canon, I guess Qui-Gon would be the first real Force Ghost.
Oh yes.
So why do you keep changing?
My fault.
Holy carsh.
Didn't mean to trigger any of the Lucas loyalists.
So. Oh, you're gonna trigger some folks if you don't cut it out. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for Soul.
Listen, I know it was Anakin that blew up the Death Star. Get off my back.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, you know, sometimes look, I look at the Massacre of the Witches very similar to like a shooting gone bad, right? It's like, yo, okay, nobody move, everybody cool, and then all of a sudden it's Tombstone, right? It's like the scene. Okay, I look at the witches fight scene where Soul kills her like the Tombstone fight in Tombstone, right? At the OK Corral, right? Where everybody's like, hold on, nobody move, and then one guy like winks at another guy and the other guy goes crazy and tries to get him. That's what happened here, right? Everybody was like, everybody be cool, and one person was like, I'm gonna turn into a smoke monster, and boom, everything trails off. So, you know, this that's how I view that. Like, it's just the shooting gone bad, you know. They could have resolved it organically, but then somebody jumped and all of a sudden, boom.
Man, they didn't resolve where Mother Coral went. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying.
So many things that can just happen.
Yeah, there's so much left. Like, you know, everybody's saying that this is a new Raylo, right? That it's like, oh, they're holding hands, and it's like, no, she wasn't holding hands, he was holding her hand, right? They were like hanging out. I didn't see that as like a romantic thing. They're not like making out in the corner.
No. She's still doing this because she thinks she has to.
Well, she's doing, at this point, this is a person that has been doing things for the wrong reason for a long time. So now she's doing things for her, not for him, not for them, not for anybody. Like, this is truly a moment where, I mean, ultimately her grief or her whatever was holding her back from really realizing her potential. And now she has reached her potential. I mean, she just snapped dude's neck, right? Like Vader style, and not, I'd say more in a more aggressive way than Vader's neck snaps, because it was like, how I got you, and then it was just like a squeeze, where Vader was very much like a snap. Like, he liked to I'm convinced Vader liked to hear the neck snap. He was like, hold on, and then it was like, and they're dead. Whereas she just kind of squeezed his windpipe until there was nothing left. Yeah, I thought this was really weird and unexplainable, and that will also bug me forever. They could have got to that same conclusion in another way without Gopher. So I didn't really understand that. Now this goes back to the lore of Revan. This goes back to that, you know, mind erasing thing. And if the Jedi can do it, why couldn't the Sith? So I feel like there's no harm, no foul on that.
Well, also, like, the reason that the three of them agreed to do that was to protect everybody.
Sure.
So what Vernestra is going to try to do now is unlock all that shit again.
Right.
She's going to bring all that pain back into May's life just to figure out where they went to try to stop them.
Right.
I mean, honestly, they could probably use Yoda for this.
Well, and so
go in deep to her mind
as we reach the hour and a half mark, as we're here in this moment. I do want to change, or I do want to bring up another subject of conversation, and you know, shit, I lost it. I had a really good segue into something I wanted to touch on, and now I just don't remember where it went.
We're talking about the mind wipes, and I was saying it was to protect them from the Jedi, because she wants to like they don't want the Jedi to be involved in their lives anymore. The twins have agreed on this. Everybody's agreed that the only way to keep them safe is to erase her memory of them and to just leave forever and never see him again.
Right. I mean,
Vernestra is going to manipulate that.
Well, I mean, the Vernestra stuff is interesting because we went into that moment where she's on the comms to somebody, and she kind of looks suspect when I'm going to call him the hall monitor, the Jedi hall monitor comes in, and she kind of looks suspect, and it sounds like a familiar voice. Now, I agreed, the timeline is iffy; it shouldn't be at this point, but there's a couple of force abilities I could see that would make somebody's age be different. Something like force drain, some stuff we've seen in games and stuff like that. But it sounded like Palpatine. It's probably not, but on the comms, it sounded like she was talking to Palpatine, and the verbiage that he used was very Palpatine, right? This is very unorthodox, but I will, try to inform him of your message. So it just sounded very Palpatine in the verbiage and in the delivery. Again, probably a bait and switch, probably a red herring for us, but just something extra that they added in there that I thought was interesting, that shows her shadiness, right?
Yeah, and the prequels Jedi can't feel so different from where we're at right now. So I mean, anything is possible. I'm not sure how old he would be. I hate talking about people's ages, but
well,
if
I don't.
a
Yeah,
young Senator Palpatine,
it's a fantasy.
now,
It's a space fantasy. I'm not looking for exact. I don't need exacts. I mean, yes, they're
dude, meeting a young Senator Palpatine before Plagueis meets him, or before the dark side's even an idea within his
he would
life,
be a boy. He would be a boy. So we would see an angry boy if we saw Palpatine at this point. If it was this early and they were using if they were using methods that were, what does he say? Unnatural, that some would consider unnatural. So I remember what I was going to say. I like to call this segment I Was Right. And the I Was Right segment here is, we talked about who Chimere was, right? Chimere, who could Chimere be if he was a fallen Jedi? And I was saying that's probably Master Vernestra's apprentice, which it seemed like, or that she knew him for sure. And the fact that she said he's alive. Now, does that imply that that was her Padawan and that she thought he died on a mission or something? Or did he turn and she tried to kill him and thinks he died and he's still alive?
There's history there, and I think they're leaving that.
I mean,
I think we're getting season 2, man. I don't know.
More keys dangling, I guess. I guess that's, what happens when they dangle keys for us to wait a whole year to be excited about a show. Yeah, I mean, that's, one of the things I noticed was immediately he was fearful. She knew exactly who it was, and it's not like it was it was a very interesting scene that got overlooked by what else was going on, right? And then I haven't heard a lot of people talk about that. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on now. I mean, camera 4 shut down by now, but there's camera 1's messed up right now, but there's 2 just for you guys, and then there's 3. Yeah, so no, that's set up for that close eye contact. That's just like when you gotta get into the soul of a person, that's what you use. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was interesting, that how frightful he was. Now, whether she whooped his ass before, or whether he's her fallen apprentice, again, we'll have to wait and find out. But what another great piece of information to leave us with, itching for season 2. Plagueis was another one. Was that Palpatine? What else? Any other moments in this finale that I'm missing that were? Oh, I mean, the lightsaber battles were hype as fuck. The Cal Kestis throwing your sabers at your
I thought all the choreography was
choreography.
Good.
Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute, just a minute. We heard, what was it, Thad, the Warrior King?
Yes.
So Thad came out initially when that first battle came out and gave us some information on how unrealistic it was. I felt like the fight scenes, the lightsaber scenes, and the lightsaber training and the work that went into these scenes was fantastic. The choreographers, the stunt team, the actors themselves for putting the time in. What a great fight scenes that they came up with, that they illustrated, that they produced, and that they perfected. Anybody that's saying these fight scenes are trash is not. I mean, these could have been some of the best fight scenes in Star Wars. I would say Anakin Obi-Wan by far the best fight scene in all of Star Wars. But these were pretty bitchin'. These were pretty awesome fight scenes.
Yeah, Chimere Soul Round 2 was phenomenal.
Chimere Soul Round 2.
It was raw too, like the destruction of the environment when they're running down that one bridge and the saber is going through the outside of it and you can just see it like tearing everything down. Those guys were like really going at it. That was an impressive.
Well, and then you get to the Cal Kestis moment where he throws his sabers at different times.
Threw him so many times.
And then the force ability that Soul uses
Repulse.
to deflect them that you see in Jedi Survivor, right? So it's just that's another thing that I love about
both
this.
sabers and Chimere.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I mean, Chimere up.
And
like he did not like that.
Seeing all this stuff illustrated in Jedi Survivor and then watching them illustrate it in live action, what an amazing transition and way to do it right. Another W, right? Take another W. The fight scenes were executed great. Break them down all you want in slow-mo. They were fantastic. The stunt teams, the actors, the choreographers, everybody knocked it out of the park. Fight scenes for me, lightsaber battles, lightsaber handling, Jackie's fight with Chimere, fucking amazing. Every lightsaber battle was fire, and I congratulate.
I think Chimere has the second coolest saber design behind Darth Maul's duel. But like the fact that he could detach them and that one is the short parry blade, like I don't know, man. That's the kind of shit I like.
That's how Cal Kestis's were when you disassembled it. One was shorter. It was
I mean, he's an anomaly. He could use a blaster in one hand and a lightsaber in the other.
Yeah, it was really awesome to see Cal Kestis style saber usage to, again, the Kyber crystal bleeding. What a fucking amazing illustration.
I gotta go back and watch that.
Oh, it was so good, dude. Watch her hand. Watch her hand when that happens. You just like the vein.
So how does because it is broken or no? How does it reignite?
I don't know, dude. That's what I'm saying. It looked a little suspect. That's where I was kind of like, I wish it would have almost looked like Kylo's saber.
Yeah.
Jagged and broken, like his saber was. But again, I'm not nitpicking about that.
Right.
That should be somebody's one of the outrage hunters should really get on that. If you're an outrage hunter here, that's something you should really get on, is that video about how did that lightsaber work when it clearly looked broken. But in that scene, it was amazing just watching the vein like darken as the Kyber crystal. It was poetry in motion to see. And to the argument that the number one, the one that just passed 3,332,000 subscribers, that illustrates that how did it take Vader 3 tries to bleed his crystal when it took this little girl a few seconds, or even Dengar. Did I get that right? Dengar? Dargara?
Oh, yeah, Dagan Gara, something like that.
Took him a minute. Vader was fighting. Vader wasn't looking to turn. I mean, he had turned, but in his soul there was regret, and that's what kept bouncing him out of that moment to turn his crystal, is that he had a force vision where he went back to the light and was accepted by Obi-Wan and redeemed, and then that forced him out of it. This young lady wasn't trying to bleed her crystal. It happened out of pure rage. It happened out of pure emotion. It happened unexpectedly to her and everybody else. Even Chimere is watching her going, what the fuck? Right? So that's the difference, is Vader Vader and Anakin were fighting each other, let's say, if you want to use that duality personality thing. Vader and Anakin were fighting during the time of Vader trying to bleed his crystals. Anakin was trying to come back. Vader was trying to take over.
Absolutely.
And that's why he had such a hard time bleeding his crystal initially in the comic book, was because there was an internal struggle with Dengar and with, I know that's not his name. With our friend from Jedi Survivor and Osha, both of them. Oh, not even our friend from Jedi Survivor is intentionally bleeding his crystal. He knows what he's doing and he has no regrets about it.
Right.
Osha is doing it involuntarily.
This is, I mean, that's what I was trying to explain when Maria was here. Like, this is the dark side taking this person.
Right.
This
is a
you and me
coming into the dark side.
Yeah, you and me both love the Charles Soule Vader comics, and one of my favorite lines from that and from Momin talks about how the dark side is a hunger.
Yeah,
like, it literally has a thirst for what it is seeking, and what it's seeking is what it's taking from her. It's bringing her into the dark, and that shit was creepy to me, man. Like, I don't know. I felt the emotion. I felt that moment. And I did not expect the crystal to turn like that. And when it did, it just elevated the show for me.
Even the lightsaber turning, the lightsaber fighting, the lightsaber fighting to the kyber crystal fighting to stay good in that moment as it's blue and red and blue and red. And I heard somebody like, oh, that just ruined lightsabers. Now they're all just glow sticks. And it's like, okay, I get it. Right. But it's just another way they're trying to illustrate something different, right? They're trying to I wouldn't have done that. I don't think you needed that exclamation point. I just think it firing up red should have been enough. I don't think you need that moment of blue, red, blue, red. I feel like that's Leslie adding her creative stamp on it that didn't need to be added. But ultimately, the bleeding of the crystal looked awesome. It gave us a live action interpretation of it. And we saw the first Force choke.
Yeah. Maybe the first.
I mean, the first Force choke in live action. I mean, this was 100 years before we watched Vader breaking necks.
Oh, well, yeah, as far as that's concerned, yeah.
So this is the earliest rendition of the Force choke we've seen. I thought it was a really cool operation. So ultimately, I'm not giving the show a 10 out of 10. I can't do that about any show. But ultimately, I mean, I could see this getting, in the upper marks of 9s and 8s for me, because I just feel like the things that are nitpicking that we're complaining about, I mean, oh, you're right. Probably Malgus. You're right. I stand corrected, but not in live action. That's still in cartoon animation. We got to get this is in live action we're talking about. So technically we're both right.
I can't put numbers on shows. For me, it's up there with Ahsoka, only because of the new lore that we're learning about. I want to know where these stories branched off to, where these Darksiders are now. Did they train other people? Like,
I mean, bro, watching Plagueis
Knights of Ren, we've talked about Knights of Ren. Like, that's still potential here.
Watching Plagueis hunt down other apprentices of his master would be bitching. Right? Like, if that season 2 is like Plagueis hunting down apprentices and eventually coming upon Palpatine at the end of season 2, like, don't even give me Palpatine until season 3. But Plagueis doing nothing but hunting down and then using the Jedi Council to find them, right? Through the Senate, through his influence in the Senate, through his money, seeing him manipulate some senators to get information from the Jedi for him. Like, how bitchin' would that be? That would be a great season 2, is just watching Hugo Damas manipulate senators and with his money and pristine reputation, and then behind the scene Plagueis is just killing motherfuckers. Right? Like, that would be a great season 2. Get rid of Leslie, get somebody else in that seat, whether it's Bryce Dallas Howard or somebody else. Shit, hire me.
Well, when you get people in these seats who are well received and the fans are like, well, this is some of the best writing I've ever seen, bring those people back. I mean, rinse, repeat. Like, let's get some of that going. Like with Marvel, okay? Not to segue over to Marvel, but if the rumors are true about all the fallouts again with this Avengers bullshit, and that the Russo brothers are now in talks again, like, if the Russo brothers direct and write the next 2 Avengers movies, both of those movies are making $1 billion. Like, Star Wars has to find that diamond in the rough.
Well, they have them. They're just
Polish it up,
the problem
bring
is
it
they're
in,
just not willing to
keep them
commit
close,
to just
keep them
Star Wars,
safe.
right? Like you have the Gilroys that obviously understand the writing and the tempo of Star Wars to create that Andor feel. I mean, the Gilroys could absolutely do it, but they just don't want to flagship a company. They want to continue to do these projects and these projects and these projects and bounce around as is their right as freelancers. But for us as fans, we want that, we want those people to continue to write these stories. Honestly, I'm not saying Leslie did a poor job, but there are some managerial points here that, and again, her mouth gets her in trouble. Like, just stop
And
talking.
where's Dave Filoni? Can he just take over already? Like, where is this man?
I mean,
He has been radio silent on all of these shows. You can't
the
get a
only thing
quote
he
out of
wasn't
him. You can't get nothing.
the only thing he wasn't radio silent at was when all the shill streamers went to LA for the premiere.
Yep.
And they got to meet and talk with him, and it's like, are you not asking him
Yeah,
real
what you
questions, or
doing?
are you just there kissing ass? Right? Like, are you just bending the knee and kissing the ring, or are you asking Dave the hard questions like, why aren't people getting, better people for this? Why is it this, why don't you have Kathleen's job at this point? What's going on here? Right? And so I feel like if Feige can be president of Marvel, why can't Dave Filoni be president of Star Wars?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, it's a weird time, dude. I'm interested in what's coming next. I think Skeleton Crew is on deck.
I think so.
So another show for the Outragers to get their clicks and get their stuff on.
I, for one, hope that the little elephant homie speaks basic. I don't want any more like Basil people not being able to understand them. I get that, but like, go reserve it for like Wookiees and like, I don't know. I need these aliens to talk to me.
Yeah. And I mean,
he looks cool though.
He looked cool. I kind of agree with a lot of people. I don't think he was really needed in the plot line as much as like, here, find these people. Then that's it. Yep. We didn't need you anymore.
And he was an actual capybara or whatever. Like, we've seen those before. He's just standing upright, walking around.
He was cute. He was totally cute, but he wasn't needed for the extra scenes that they used him for. It should have been like, hey, Basil, find these people. Boom. Oh, here they are. That should have been the end of it. What do you got on the horizon? More RP?
GTA, man. I love it. I'm addicted.
You are.
There's at least 170 people in the city every single day, and they're all characters, all actors. I need to come up with other characters. I've been playing as myself, quote unquote, but I gotta get like some old lady vibes, some like Zoomer vibes. Like, I don't know. I need people to come in and help me create personas.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to watch. I mean, just you getting around the city, having fun exploring things. Everybody should get over there and check out what Scotty's doing in the channel. You're almost at your 400 subscriber mark, right?
Yeah, 6 away.
You're like 6 away
from
so
400.
If you're in here at all and you haven't subscribed, get over to Scotty's channel and make sure to subscribe over there. I will put the in the link right now. I will put his his channel in the
You can find me under Scotty Hawk. You'll see all the Star Wars stuff.
Yes, you will.
Star Wars logos.
There is his
follow this logo.
His YouTube channel. So you guys can find him here on YouTube. If you haven't been over there, go ahead and get over there, subscribe, help him hit his mark. He's real close to that 500 subscriber mark. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a good time. I had a good time with the show. I'm going to continue to break it down more and watch it as a whole as we go through. The biggest thing I'm working on right now is I don't do a lot of long form videos. I do a lot of shorts. I do a lot of lives. I'm not a real great editor when it comes to long form videos. I get frustrated, but
shorts are good. The shorts are good.
Shorts are good. Shorts are good. I'm trying to get better at the videos. So what I'm doing now is I am working on a Sabine Wren video. And the truth about Sabine, the hidden truth about Sabine Wren, you don't know.
Don't tell me anymore.
And so that's what we're working on right now. The truth about the live action Sabine Wren, you think you know, but you really don't. So that's what I'm working on right now. It's going to be a long form video. I'm trying to break it down into trying to get like 10-15 minutes out of it. That shit's real hard for me, but did you I think I smelled something. Oh yeah, that's right, X-Wing's here. I knew I smelled something. Happy birthday to the guy. He's he had a birthday stream earlier with all his buddies, and they were chit-chatting. I came in at the end and threw a super chat something or another. I don't even remember what they're called. They're super chat subscription length duration telling devices. So a milestone. It's a milestone. Every month you're a subscriber of somebody, you can get a milestone. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, ultimately working on a long form video for that Sabine stuff. That's more of things you don't know, things I kind of dissected over the course of watching the Ahsoka show again and really honing in on the Sabine story and how basically it's going to be an interesting video. So keep your eyes out for that. X-Wing's 33 today, so make sure to get over his channel and give him a quick like for his birthday stream and hit him in the Discord. Yeah, I mean, we talked about that a bunch. I dug it a lot. Yeah, I dug it a lot. I thought it was really cool. I thought the way they
pretty similar to the video game.
I think the again, and you weren't here for a lot of it. The part that I didn't like the most is that looked like the lightsaber was broken. So how did it just fire up in that moment? That's my one critique, is that when it was thrown, it
looked like the crystals poking out of both sides of it. So
but when the but when the kyber crystal is bled, or when the lightsaber's thrown, you hear it break, you hear a breaking sound, and then you see the kyber crystal kind of sticking out of the saber a little bit. So for me, that's the part that I really didn't dig, is that it looked broken. How'd you fix it real quick? I get you're like this mechanical genius, but you know, how'd you fix that in just that moment? So that, other than that, but the bleeding of the crystal itself, I thought was wicked. I didn't so much like the blue-red lightsaber competition. I get why they did that. The illustration of the dark side taking over, you know, whatever. But I think they could have gone without that. Just powered up red, boom, 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 you're done. But ultimately, the crystal bleeding was dope. Why the saber had to look broken for that to happen, I'm not really too sure. But again, it looked really fucking cool. The fact that you can see the vein in her hand darken as the crystal getting bled. Like I just, so much of that I enjoyed. Her turn was seductive without being seductive. He couldn't. And I think that's the thing I enjoyed about that. He couldn't seduce her into going dark, but the Force seduced her into going dark. In that moment of rage, the dark side was like, yes, let it go, right?
Her.
Yeah. And so in that moment, you can see he couldn't seduce her to coming to the dark side, but the Force in that moment, while when she said stop talking, that's the moment when it really took her, when she voiced what she really wanted, right? What she truly inside wanted him to do. When she voiced it, that's when the bleeding started. That's when the dark side was like, oh, I got her. We got her.
And it's, but you know what it is too. It's like when you're in that really like rageful state and you're telling someone to stop talking, it's because he was making that shit worse.
Right.
She was begging him to stop because the dark side was taking her.
Right. And so it was just a great illustration of the turning, the bleeding of the crystal, the turning of her, the seduction of the dark side to just, you know, he mentioned let go, you know, give into it, let go. But in that moment she did, and the dark side seduced her and took her, and she snapped the neck of somebody at one time she loved. It was great, man. I mean, you can't, and I've said this for my whole life. You can't truly hate something or someone unless you've loved it first, right? So true hate has to come from a place of love and betrayal, true hate. And I feel like if you've never felt that betrayal before, if you've never felt that true hate in your heart that made you feel that way, then maybe you don't understand that moment to Osha. I have felt that betrayal. I have felt love that has turned to hate. So in that moment, that's another reason where I'm like that. I felt her in that moment. I felt what she was saying. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wasn't sure what you were doing. I said at the beginning of the stream, if you were here earlier, I would have sent you a link to join us, but it's been a couple hours now. It's time to start making some supper. And it's late on the East Coast for Scotty, so we're gonna call it a night. But yeah, man, great conversation night. Again, the show wasn't a perfect 10, but it wasn't a 1 either. I lived this in the gray of it was good, but it wasn't perfect, just like most of the shows, and that's how I rate most of the shows. So yeah, man, I wish everybody all the best. Again, as always, I tell everybody, let's go over to Scotty's channel. Let's help him get to his 500 subscriber. If you're bored, put some of my stuff on the background. We're trying to get to a couple more 100 watch hours so we can get this monetization thing going, so I can give more back out to the community and do more fun stuff and bring more people into the fold. So yeah, as always, guys, thank you for being here. Get over to Scotty's channel and make sure you subscribe. His link is in the chat, and I'm going to put it one last time just so everybody can get over there, because I want him to get to 500 subscribers or 400 like lickety splickety. As always, everybody, thank you for being here. As always, thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate all the chat, all the discussion. We appreciate all you guys for joining us here at the Lighthouse of Hope and the Dark Sea of Star Wars. As always, don't forget, get out there, get your pet spayed, neutered, help control the pet population. Don't forget to tell the people in your life how you feel today. Go get what you want to get after before life gets ahead of you. And as always, thank you for being here. May the force be with you. I hope you have a great rest of the week. I'm sure we'll be in here doing something with everybody here pretty soon. So yeah, keep your eyes out. We'll see you soon. Be safe.